I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the basic concepts or the basic gods in Hindu mythology. Since we are in India and Indian mythology has a huge role to play in our upbringing, I would focus more on Indian mythology, but we'll also cover some other world mythologies just to get a sense of how things are in the other parts of the world. So I'm beginning with the Trinity, the Hindu Trinity of Vishnu, Brahma, and Mahesh, and we'll see what can we learn from these. Now, these slides are just my interpretations. You may have your own interpretations, you may have your own viewpoints, and post the presentation, I would love to have hear from you about what you feel about these interpretations, as well as if there's something that you could add to this. So, to begin with, we have Lord Vishnu. He's the god of preservation or management. So, he's the ideal god for managers because once Brahma has finished creation, it is Vishnu's role to keep it going. It is Vishnu's role to maintain the balance of the universe. It is Vishnu's role to ensure evil does not overpower goodness. And that he does with aplomb. So he's the god of preservation or management. He resides in the highest loka. He's like the CEO who lives in the most palatial bungalow. He lives in the best of localities. Probably Kolaba in Bombay. I'm not sure what's the corresponding location in Ahmedabad, but he lives in the best possible place. He has the goddess of fortune at his feet. Imagine you have all the luxuries that you could want from life. Surrounded by all these riches, by this good fortune, by these luxuries, he still never hesitates to help the devas who are his subordinates whenever they are in crisis. So there are a lot of lessons to learn from Vishnu, and first and foremost is you should lead by example, right? A manager or a leader cannot sit in his cabin all the time without stepping out and showing the team how things are done at least once in a while. You do not need to take over the responsibilities of your team. Of course not. Everybody is there for a specific purpose. But as a manager or a leader of a team, it is imperative that you join them sometimes and you show them how things are done. So you have to lead by example. No one is bigger than the organization. You may be the highest ranked person in the organization, but when it comes to to doing things that are essential or are necessary for the preservation of the organization or for the benefit of the organization, you have to step in. You can't say that this is not my job. This is your company, or you are one of the leaders, or you are one of the CEOs or shareholders or stakeholders. It's as much your company as it is anyone else's. So you have to take the onus on yourself, and you have to consider the organization bigger than yourself or your own inflated status of entitlement, right? We see a lot of people like that. I'm sure you must be thinking of someone right now who's probably like that, but hopefully not in the present company. So you have to show the team what is the right value to follow at that time of crisis. For example, Lord Vishnu appeared as Ram and he appeared as Krishna. But do you think both the avatars had the same things to teach humanity? Of course not. Lord Ram told us what are the ideals to be followed by a society, the ideal behavior. But Krishna told us how to break the rules. He was the one who sort of tricked everybody into doing what he wanted. So he was the one who set, Lord Ram was the one who set the rules, and Lord Krishna broke all those rules. Why? Because that was the need of the hour. That doesn't mean we are free to do whatever we want anytime. But it has to depend on the situation, on the crisis at hand. If it can be sorted out, if there is a lot of unruly behavior, if things are going worse because of not following the rules, you have to set clear guidelines for the team. But if it is because of following too much rules or too many rules, there's a lot of bureaucracy or a lot of red tapeism that has come into the organization or in your team, it's time to break those rules. That's what Krishna teaches us. So again, there are a lot of learnings that we can have from each character, but in interest of time, I'll take you through a few of these, a few prominent ones that I could think of. Next slide, please. Next, we have Lord Brahma. A very interesting thing about Brahma that I found out while I was writing my blog was that Brahma's life is 311 trillion human years. Can you imagine how long that would be? 311 trillion human years. And Brahma currently is in his 51st day of the 51st year. So Brahma has officially hit midlife crisis right now. Okay, so that's why you see things happening the way they are, probably. So no offense to Lord Brahma, but you can imagine, how long is his life? But every single day, he gets up in the morning and he starts the creation all over again. Because every night Shiva destroys everything that Brahma had created in the daytime. We'll see the reason for that when we come to Shiva, but right now let's focus on Brahma. So every single day he has a lifespan of 311 trillion human years, and which is equivalent to his 100 years of Brahma. But every year of Brahma has 360 days. So you can imagine the amount of effort he puts in every single morning till his last breath, till the last hour, last minute, last second of his 99th year, he would be doing this. So, what are the learnings that we can take from Brahma's life or Brahma's role in creation? You are never too old to start something new or to try something new. And I think that's one of the most inspiring things I could find in mythology. And that's what I have followed in my life because after doing MBBS, and this was, I'm talking about in 2007, a lot of people were, they actually told me that you are crazy. Why are you, ruining your education? You have done MBBS, you capitalize on it, start your practice, your parents are doctors, join their hospital and stuff like that. But that was not something I wanted to do. I wanted to explore something different, and that's how I landed in management. And I think I'm giving this as an example for others who might want to branch out or who might want to develop a new skill or learn a new trade. It's always possible to try something new, and that is what Brahma teaches us. Don't give up. Keep trying to better the things. Every day he creates, and everything is destroyed. But next day he tries to create a better version of it, so that more and more souls can attain salvation. So this is going a little more into the spiritual aspects of it. So I'm not entering that territory. But his purpose is to ensure that more and more souls, the atmas, jivatmas in the world, can attain salvation through his creation. Another very important thing that we learn from Brahma as a leader: never be ashamed to ask for help. You must have seen in the mythologicals, or you must have read in some of the scriptures, how Devtas, they always rush to Brahma whenever they are tormented by asuras that they can't handle. And what does Brahma do? A lot of times Brahma is a cause of that misery because he's given a boon to one of the demons that the Devtas can't break. And that is why they have to run to Lord Vishnu for help. And it's always Brahma who takes the lead. He goes to Lord Vishnu and he accepts his mistake. He says that, yes, I made a mistake by giving this boon, but we need your help now. Brahma teaches us never to be ashamed for asking for help, and the importance of knowledge sharing that Brahma teaches us. Brahma is the custodian of the Vedas, and as many of you would probably be aware, that Vedas are the most ancient and the most sacred scriptures of Hinduism. They are one of the oldest literatures in the world, and they have a lot of historical, moral, teachings for us, and they're very, very important in establishing the chronology of the Indian civilization. Brahma is the one who is the custodian of the Vedas. If he decided to keep the Vedas with himself, none of us would have learned from them. So you may have a skill, you may have some knowledge which is absolutely out of this world. It does not mean a thing if you don't share it with the others, right? So that's a very important lesson we learn from Brahma. Moving on to the next uh, member of the trilogy, which is Lord Shiva. Everybody knows he's the god of contrasts, right? He's the Nataraj, the god of dance, but he's also the Adi Yogi who sits down in meditation and shuns all activity. He's the Bholenath who's very easily pleased, even by demons like Ravan. But he also has a Rudra form, which is the fierce form in which he destroys the creation. And perhaps the only example where you see the concept of gender equality established so beautifully is Shiva's Ardhanarishwar form. So I'm not going too much into detail for all these forms because I'm assuming a lot of you would know. If not, we can of course discuss these later in the Q&A. But Shiva has, as I said, is a lot of contrast. He dons multiple hats. He's responsible for everything, not just at the time of Brahma's night, but every second the dance of Shiva or the Tandav is happening. Because as things keep getting old and decaying, they are replaced by something new, which is created by Brahma. So it's an ongoing activity. And there are various lessons to be learned from this. First and foremost, as I said, Shiva dons multiple hats. So you can perform different roles, provided you are sufficiently prepared for them. You have to have, it's not like one fine day Shiva decided, no, I will destroy the creation. Of course not. He had a reason to do that. He had a preparation to do that. He had the skill to do that. You cannot become a consummate dancer. You cannot become the king of dance without initial preparation, right? So even if you want to don multiple hats, you want to have, you want to do different roles in the organization. You have to be taught those skills. You, even as a manager or as a leader, you have to constantly learn new skills to expand your role. You may destroy the old to help create something new. So, sorry, there's a typo there. But you may help to destroy for someone else. You don't need to create anything new. But if someone helps, someone needs help in doing away with some old processes, you can definitely help them if it results in a better management overall. And sometimes you may even have to take the fall for the rest of the team. As a leader, as a manager, I think that's one of the most important lessons I have learned in my professional life. I see a lot of leaders throwing their team members under the bus, when things go wrong. When the superiors question them, I've personally seen in the organizations that I've worked in, when things go wrong, instead of taking the responsibility or helping their team members, they sort of throw them under the bus and tell the superiors that this was the guy who did it. It was not my fault. That is something which should be avoided as a leader. I'm sure a lot of times it may be justified if there's a gross misuse of power or there's gross negligence by the employee. But a better way is to chide or berate the employee in private, and in public you should refrain from doing that. You have to take the fall for your team. What did Shiva do when Samudra Manthan was happening? The first thing to come out of the churning of the ocean was not the Amrit. The churning of the ocean was performed to gain the Amrit, to gain benefits. But that did not happen. The first thing that came out was the poison or the halahal. It was the most toxic substance in the world. And it was affecting the gods and the demons alike. Shiva took it upon himself. He drank the poison and stored it in his throat. That is why his throat turned blue and he's called Nilkant. That's a very strong example of what leaders do to save the team from destruction. What will you lead if there's no team left because of the destruction? So somewhere We all have to remember, as managers and as leaders, we need to step in and take the fall sometimes for the betterment of the whole team or the organization. Next slide, please. Equally important as the male gods is the goddess. She is the primeval energy source, the Shakti that allows all the gods to function. He possesses multiple limbs. In any image that you may see Shiva with two hands, you may see Vishnu with four hands, and Brahma with four hands. But it's always the goddess who's shown with multiple limbs. And each of her hands holds a separate weapon or a separate tool. She helps the gods kill the demons that the gods can't handle themselves. Right? So very important learnings. I absolutely love taking sessions on what we could learn from the goddesses, because there are lessons in humility, there's lessons in empowerment, and there's lessons in multitasking. First and foremost, we have to realize that many times the right man for the job may actually be a woman. So we should avoid our gender biases to cloud the judgment while selecting the right person for the job. As leaders, as managers in a big organization, I think this is one of the most important factors today, that empowering women does not mean giving them just any job, but giving them the right job if they are capable to do it, irrespective of the gender. As I said, Durga killed the demon Mahishasur, who had the boon to not. He had taken the boon from Brahma that he would not be destroyed by any male of any species, and that is why Durga had to take the responsibility of this task. Multitasking is something that we learn from her. Durga is not just one goddess. Of course, she's the primeval goddess, but Durga also exists in many different forms. All the goddesses, all the consorts, the spouses of the gods, of the male gods, are but different emanations of Durga. So she performs different functions as Lakshmi. She takes care of money, she takes care of the riches, she's the goddess of fortune. As Saraswati, she takes care of knowledge and arts. As Parvati, she's the perfect house maker. As Kali, she's the destructress. And very fascinatingly, Gauri and Kali are both different forms of Parvati, right? And the same woman, same goddess can transform into Kali when required, and otherwise behave as a docile housewife when it suits her purpose. So I think the same a lot. We see a lot of this happening in our own colleagues, right? A lot of our women colleagues who take care of their families, who take care of their children, and they also take care of the job very efficiently. I think they are perfect examples of this multitasking. Not to say that men don't do that, but of course we all know that women have many more responsibilities at home. Perhaps things may have changed in the lockdown and men may have started to contribute a little more, but historically that has been the case. And this is something that we learn from mythology, that even in those ancient times, thousands of years ago, our ancestors recognized the multiple roles that can be performed by women and did not restrict the difficult tasks to men. Another interesting example lesson rather, that I would like to mention here is, a lot of times we hire consultants, we hire external consultants to do some things, but then we treat them as vendors and we, act all high and mighty, and we don't share enough stuff with them. We want them to come up with the solutions on their own. If we do not give them inputs, if we do not give them the proper resources required to do the job, it is futile, it's just a waste of money. And Durga was provided all the weapons by the gods. The gods wanted Durga to kill Mahishasur, to kill the demons, like Shumb and Nishumb and Chand and Mund. But how could she do that without weapons? So that each of the gods, including Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv, Indra, Agni, Kuber, everybody gave their own weapons to the goddess to do her task. So that's a very important lesson in sharing of resources, especially for someone that you hire to do the job that you cannot do. Otherwise, the job will never get done.